A major diplomatic fault line has opened on the global stage as debates over racial justice, historical accountability, and reparations take center stage at the United Nations General Assembly, exposing deep divisions between the United States and much of the international community. At the heart of the controversy is a landmark resolution adopted on March 25, marking the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. The resolution, led by Ghana and supported by more than 65 nations across Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America, formally declared slavery and the transatlantic slave trade as crimes against humanity of the highest order, while calling for meaningful reparatory justice to address their enduring consequences. The vote itself sent a powerful signal. A broad coalition of countries aligned around a shared position that the legacy of slavery is not simply historical but remains embedded in present-day inequalities, requiring global recognition and structured redress. We are not dealing with the past alone, we are dealing with its consequences in real time, one diplomat involved in the discussions remarked, underscoring the urgency behind the resolution. However, the consensus was not universal. In a move that has drawn sharp international reaction, the United States, under the leadership of Donald Trump, voted against the resolution, placing itself among a very small minority of nations rejecting the measure. The decision has been widely interpreted as a significant departure from the broader global momentum toward acknowledging historical injustices and exploring pathways toward reparatory justice. Critics argue that this position reflects a broader pattern in U.S. foreign policy, particularly in relation to issues of race and international accountability. The vote followed the earlier withdrawal of the United States from the UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, a platform established to address systemic inequalities affecting people of African descent worldwide. These decisions send a message that cannot be ignored, said a policy analyst familiar with the discussions. When a global power steps away from frameworks designed to address inequality, it reshapes the conversation, not just diplomatically, but morally. Supporters of the resolution view it as a necessary step toward confronting a legacy that continues to shape global socio-economic realities. For many nations, particularly those whose histories are directly tied to the transatlantic slave trade, the issue is not symbolic but deeply practical. Reparatory justice is about acknowledging harm and creating systems that correct long-standing imbalances, a Caribbean representative explained. This is not about blame, it is about responsibility. The debate has also reignited discussions about what reparations should look like in practice. While there is broad agreement on the need for recognition and action, there is less clarity on the mechanisms through which reparatory justice should be implemented. Proposals range from financial compensation and debt relief to investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure in affected communities. Yet the United States opposition has complicated these discussions. By rejecting the resolution, Washington has effectively distanced itself from a growing international movement, raising questions about its role in shaping global norms on human rights and historical accountability. This has in turn intensified scrutiny of U.S. leadership on the world stage. Global leadership is not only about economic or military power, said one international relations expert. It is also about moral alignment with global values. The situation is further amplified by the broader geopolitical context, where global alliances are shifting and new blocs are emerging. In this environment, decisions taken at multilateral institutions like the United Nations carry increased significance, influencing both diplomatic relations and public perception. For many observers, the current moment represents a turning point. The overwhelming support for the resolution suggests that a majority of the world is moving toward a more unified stance on addressing historical injustices. At the same time, the resistance from a major power highlights the challenges that remain in achieving global consensus. This is a defining moment for international cooperation, another diplomat stated. It shows how far we have come and how far we still need to go. The implications extend beyond diplomacy. They touch on how history is understood, how justice is defined, and how nations choose to confront the legacies that continue to shape their societies. For communities affected by the transatlantic slave trade, the resolution represents recognition long sought after, as well as a framework for future action. For the United States, however, the decision to oppose the measure raises critical questions about its direction and priorities in the realm of global human rights. As the debate continues, one thing remains clear. The conversation about reparations is no longer at the margins. It is now at the center of global discourse. And the positions taken today will shape the policies tomorrow. In the end, this is not only a diplomatic issue, it is a test of how the world confronts its past and how it chooses to define justice moving forward.